I'm here with Rick Torres, who's the President and CEO of the National Student Clearinghouse, which is an organization that we're very, very fortunate to be partnering with this year. And we're doing that primarily because we feel that the National Student Clearinghouse brings a service to our school districts really that nobody else can provide. So I'm very happy to have Rick with us here this afternoon. Good to have you with us, Rick. And why don't you tell us a little bit about the Student Clearinghouse and specifically about StudentTracker, which is the program that we're really so excited about.
Thanks. Thanks, Dan. The National Student Clearinghouse has been around for 18 years. We are the only source for the nation's enrollment data at a unit level basis. We have about 92% of the nation's enrollment sent from the schools to our system. One of the services that we offer to the superintendents and to high schools is the ability to track where their students have gone in terms of access, how well they have persisted, and whether or not they completed a post-secondary degree. And that could be an associate's degree, it could be a baccalaureate degree, it could be a master's, it could be a PhD, doctorate, what have you. It's a service that's been around for a number of years that leverages the fact that we do have all of the information from the schools. The latest version of this report, which I happen to have here, runs about 30 pages or so with some detailed graphics, culminating with some beautiful color slides. It's about 34 pages in all that will essentially let a superintendent or a high school principal know what's happened to their students. And what we have seen...
and by the way, that is unique information.
Yes, it is.
I know from my years in the superintendency that we basically had to rely on surveys that we did of our graduates to try to find out where they were. And of course, as we know from surveys, the response is somewhat spotty. Through the Student Clearinghouse, you can track all of the students that have graduated from your school systems and are enrolled in colleges and universities.
Well, and it's not anecdotal. It's real information, right? So the other problem with surveys is that it could be I am intending to go here,
sure,
or I went here and then they may have stopped and have gone elsewhere.
Or I would like to go there, right, but I'm not.
Well, exactly. So it's anecdotal at best.
Yeah.
What this allows, these reports actually can keep track of stop-outs. But those are kids that have gone to school, had to stop for some reason, and then re-enrolled, right, someplace else. It could be in a different state, could be in a private institution, a for-profit. We're able to track all of that movement over the course of time. It's a very powerful tool. Most states and districts and then high schools that leverage this information usually send us 8 years worth of graduation information. So they'll send us 8 years worth of high school graduates, and we're able to go in and track 8 years worth of student progression. And what many districts have done they've taken that information and essentially gone and tried to reverse engineer to figure out, well, we changed curriculum and 4 years ago, did it have an impact on our students' ability to have access to post-secondary ed or to persist in post-secondary education?
It's also a great way of determining from what you're offering at the K-12 level. The students that do graduate and do go on to college and graduate from college, what were they doing? What was the preparation that they were having? And I think a lot of the districts that have done this are surprised to see the high level of performance that these students have, as opposed to even the standards that are required, from various states. And it's really significantly above the minimum standards that we tend to set.
That's correct. And the other point that's really important here is that what distinguishes these reports and the information that we provide from state level or government level reports is that we can track all movement. Students that stop out, that transfer from one school to the other, they tend to fall off the radar in a lot of the government statistics that you see. Because a lot of their graduation statistics, for example, are first-time, full-time enrolled. Right? But we can capture kids that perhaps took a year off, came in, took another year off, continued their education, went from community college to post-secondary, and then maybe they went to a public and then switched to a private or vice versa. That information is invaluable. And, I believe that principals and superintendents can take a look at this data set and begin the conversation from an informed place about what are the changes that they could make, right, to even further the success of their individual high schools and school districts.
Now, how does a district get this data?
What they would have to do, the best place to start is that they would contact either the National Student Clearinghouse, or we have Bill Clendaniel, who works for the American Association of School Administrators. Their information will be available at the end of this tape, and with that contact, they will establish a relationship. And in some cases, your school district may already have a relationship with the clearinghouse, right? And we'll be able to tell you whether that, in fact, is true or not. In other cases, your state may have already established a relationship with the clearinghouse. Now, in some of those state relationships, there is no obligation of the state to provide the data to the high school. They are doing it on their own based on the data that they have. So many districts have opted to get their own set of data from the clearinghouse. And essentially, for a high school to go in, the rack rate is $425 for a 30-page report covering 8 years' worth of students. And I have not heard one superintendent or principal talk about that being an exorbitant amount of money for the information that's being provided. The National Student Clearinghouse is a nonprofit, so this is really, we're providing this at barely above cost for our cost of production to make it available to the students, rather to the principals and the superintendents of the different school districts.
And here's a key question. Is this data available anywhere else?
No. This is it. This is the only place where you can come up with this information. Or you can go back to surveys. But I mean, this is really it. And the reason for that is that the clearinghouse is the only place that actually receives monthly enrollment data directly from the schools. So we have an up-to-date database about who is enrolled. The reason we get that information is that we also provide enrollment deferral reporting for student loans, and we have many back office services that we provide on behalf of the registrar's office of post-secondary ed institutions. And as a result of that agency relationship that we have with the post-secondary institutions, we were able to provide this K-12 progression and analytic.
So you can see why we're so excited about this partnership, because for $425, a school can receive a report that tracks the performance of all of their graduates over the past 8 years.
That's correct.
And that's incredible information to be able to have and to utilize in terms of examining what you're doing, that has allowed these students to go on to college and be successful, to be college ready and graduate from college.
That's correct, and there are some great beacons out there in terms of superintendents that have used the service very successfully, that are publicly available for viewing. You can look at Baltimore County, some of the work that was done there. Look at Montgomery County Public Schools in Maryland. Jerry Weiss did some great work based in part on the information that he was able to receive from the National Student Clearinghouse. We have districts across the country, with districts as large as New York City and Los Angeles, that leverage the clearinghouse information again to get their analytics. And we have a lot of one high school districts that are very small that want to learn exactly the same pieces of information.
So it's great information, and thank you so much, Rick, for joining us today. And right after this tape, you will see a screen that will provide you the contact information,
Yes.
so that if you're interested, please follow through. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Dan.